Okay, we are recording. So, hi everybody, it's June, so it's time for our new mini monthly Mal, and this is Pride Month. Yay, Pride Month. And I accidentally changed out of my Pride t-shirt because I got wet outside feeding the animals. But today I'm very tickled to have Sarah Vargas from Notorious Needle. I got to know her through my friend Stacy, and she is the one who actually told me about the We Believe Sal that y'all know I'm working on. And she is the amazing designer of that sal. So I'm just going to let her take over here and tell us a little bit about herself.
Thanks, Deborah. That's really, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. So my name is Sarah with the Notorious Needle, and I make snarky cross-stitch designs and cross-stitch tutorials, but it's only cross-stitch, so I don't knit or crochet. I tried. I was a horrible failure, so I gave up. So Deborah asked me to talk about some of my designs. I like sort of in your face designs a little bit. I like creating designs that spark conversation, whether that's conversation of a political nature, like the We Believe Stitch Along, or the political therapy collection that I put out during the election, or it's like just silly stuff like curse words and like a pretty floral border, or silly sayings in the kitchen, like double entendres, you know, a pair of oven mitts and it says always use protection, like, but just things to get you to laugh or get you to talk, or or things you might like to hang up in your home. I like really bright colors, not subtle at all. A rainbow of colors, really. There's, you know, yeah, I have my favorites, of course. I think everybody does. I like electric blue is my favorite, so that's in like all my patterns wherever I can squeeze it in because it's just so bright and colorful. So and then I do the tutorials too. I do them here on YouTube, and I have them on my my little website. And I like to make cross stitch as like easy and effortless and not thoughtless, but so you don't have to concentrate. It's something that should be soothing and calming and relaxing. So I don't have anxiety, but years ago I did have, I guess what they called it was like environmental depression after my divorce, and cross stitch really helped me sort of cope with a lot of that. I could concentrate on what I was doing without thinking too hard. And I want people to be able to do that too. I want to teach stitchers to be able to pick it up and just like hit their Zen place, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so that's what the tutorials are for, just to help make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, and you have some really amazing tutorials. I was looking at your website today to kind of refresh my mind because I spent some time looking at it when I first found out about the sal. And you've got a lot of great tutorials on there. So anybody new or old stitchers, because I've been stitching for a long time, but there's been a lot of new techniques developed in the time that I took off.
Yeah.
So it's a great resource for the community to go and look at. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
What got you designing cross stitch? You said you use, is that sort of what you use to make yourself kind of work through your environmental depression, or had you been doing it before that, or what?
My mom actually taught me to cross stitch when I was about 10 years old. At the same time, she tried to teach me knitting and crocheting, and that didn't take. I'm very right brain, so I'm very like analytical, and I like the numbers. And so cross stitch is sort of a creative outlet, but it's still paint by numbers basically, right? So I started designing a few years after my divorce, just for myself, because much like the subversive cross stitch, it was around the same time. There wasn't a lot of anything that I could stitch that was like not happy, happy, joy, joy. And that just wasn't going to cut it for me right then. You know, I needed something not nice, you know, a little bit mean, like, you know, and I'm not just talking an F-bomb, right? I'm talking like, you know, stab it with a needle a million times, you know,
yeah,
stuff like that. So I started to make some of those for myself. And then my mom was like, oh, you should start a blog. And I'm like, okay, how hard could it be? So, so I started
the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where that started.
That's awesome. So I know that you developed, you said that you did a lot of designing after the 2016 election and kind of over the last 4 years is for a lot of us coping mechanisms.
Yes.
Because anybody that watches my podcast knows where I stand. So this should not be any surprise to anybody about, most of us were, if not fearful, at least concerned for the
Yes.
last little while. And so I like the fact that a lot of your patterns are soothing in that way too. They're not just soothing in the process, but they're soothing in the messaging. So can you talk a little bit about some of those maybe patterns?
Sure. Well, some of the more soothing ones, so for instance, the We Believe Stitch Along, I wanted to create something that was more uplifting because I thought that some of my past patterns were a little dark, kind of dark humor. And I felt like after the most recent election, it was okay to sort of be hopeful again and look forward to the future. So that's where the We Believe Stitch Along came from. And I'm sure as your audience has already seen, I tried to create uplifting messages that were inclusive, that you've seen in the news on like protest signs and stuff that I saw. I was fortunate enough to participate in a couple of protests down here in South Florida. I saw those signs and I thought, well, wouldn't it be great to like stitch up a little something that I could put in my home that when people come in, they know, okay, that's how it's going to be here. And, you're going to be nice and you're going to be well-mannered. And if not, you can exit.
Oh, yes. I'm going to share the screen here. I have the most recent update from your website up here of the SAL, because we are still in process on the SAL, but you can still jump in, you can still you can still join in, you can still get in on the fun. So this is where we're at, and this one just came out this past Friday, correct? The Women's Rights and Human Rights.
Correct.
So can you kind of tell me a little bit about the process of why you chose? I know you said you went to some protests, which I have too. Why you chose some of the messages that you did, because I like the things that you've chosen so far.
Well, I did see some other cross-stitch designs with similar messages. Of course, not exactly. Every designer has their own take on them. But I didn't want it to be just words on rows, on lines. I wanted it to be something bright and colorful, and I wanted each section to be something that if you wanted to, if it spoke to you, you could pull it out and stitch just that section and hang that up as a finished cross-stitch piece. There's a few people who have purchased the SAL who have said they're healthcare workers and they were really happy to see healthcare as a right, and they were stitching that up. A family member of mine works at a gynecologist's office, and she intends to put the latest one, Women's Rights Are Human Rights, in her office. Where patients can see it so they know that they are advocates for women, stuff like that.
And you were talking about, I like the fact that you gave us some options on this pattern. Like there's a couple of different border choices, and then as you said, you can stitch individual ones. And I really like that you gave us what I'm calling the smalls patterns.
Yeah.
You can do the individual pieces, because I'm actually stitching them up as individual pieces, and I'm going to make a mobile to hang in my office from the ceiling in my office, because this is going to be a fairly large piece when it's done, and my wall space is kind of at a premium in my office. So I thought, because it was really important to me to take it to work and have it in my office at work.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to think how I could do that, and then I got to looking at the pattern and went, oh great, she gave me this, so I'll just do that. That'll be great. So and I love the bright colors. It is very hopeful in its color choices and everything like that. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I did the two borders because my mom hates backstitch. So I did the backstitch for me. That's the one that I stitched. And then she is stitching the one with the cross stitch border because that's what she prefers. So I was like, you're probably not the only one who hates bad stitch. I hear people complaining about it all the time. So I said, let me throw this in there, see what I can cook up. So it worked out.
people have strong feelings about backstitch. They either,
They do.
you know, if they don't like it, they really don't like it. And then if you don't mind it, it's like, well, that's fine, you know. So,
Right.
and actually in my group, we've got people doing both. We got some people doing the backstitch border, and we got some people, because there's like 6 of us in my little Zoom group that gets together that's doing this pattern.
Yeah.
So, because I found out about it and immediately shared it with everybody in my group
Oh,
because I knew
thank
they would
you.
love it. And so there's about 6 of us doing it as a along together. So I'm behind on it, but I'm going to try to get caught up over the summer and get it hung up in my office before we go back to campus. So, I guess, can you just kind of tell us a little bit about your website and how we can find you on social media and all the different places that we can, I know you've got a Facebook group and all this stuff. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so thank you. I'm at Notorious Needle everywhere. I'm mostly on Facebook. That's where my friends and family are. So I'm kind of on there a lot. Not so much Instagram, as you found out. I'm so sorry.
Okay. I kind of poked Stacey and went, can you talk to her and see if she'll
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not on there as often. So I do like to scroll on Instagram and see what everyone is doing. It's interesting. I do have a Twitter account. I just post on it here and there, but you know, cross stitch isn't really big on Twitter, Pinterest, and my website, notoriousneedle.com. You can message me there, or sarah@notoriousneedle.com is my email.
Okay, cool. So I guess, is there any last thoughts that you'd like to share with us about, you know, what cross stitch, like, is cross stitch for everybody, or anything as we go into Pride Month? We're trying to be inclusive. If you got any sort of deep thoughts to share about that.
So for me, Halloween is my favorite holiday because you can do and be anything you want for like a day, right? Well, cross stitch is one of those mediums where you can do or be anything you want. Like you could do anything cross stitch. You can make a 2-dimensional picture. You can stitch it on a shirt. You can make your own designs or purchase someone else's. People are really, really creative with it, and it can be very, very empowering. So you can just, it's like, it doesn't take that long to learn. Anyone can learn it. So just dive in, go for it, have fun, do what you want, screw the rules. Like, don't listen to anyone when they tell you you're not supposed to do it that way, because you know what? If you like it that way, it's your project. You're the one who's going to be staring at that. So if you like it, leave it. That's my philosophy. Screw
I think that's a great advice. If you like it, leave it. That's great advice. Well, I want to thank you for spending some time with me, and I'm gonna put this up. So this month, remember, so if you purchase any pattern or support any maker or make anything related to Pride Month, don't forget to use that with the hashtag June, DPF, Diary of Physicist Farm Gal June Mal on Instagram or the Facebook group or wherever you're at, and you'll get some extra interest. I'm going to stop the recording and thank you again.